Four black SUVs crept onto a remote Texas highway, their engines low, headlights carving through the desert dark like knives. Their mission? A routine shakedown. A lone trucker hauling freight across the border. Easy target, they thought. Just another name to add to the list. What they didn't know was this. They had just picked the wrong trucker on the wrong night. Behind the wheel of that Peterbilt 389 wasn't just anyone. It was Emily Blake, former Navy SEAL, combat legend, and not someone you corner without consequences. Tonight, the predators were about to become prey. Quick pause. Where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments. And if these kinds of stories keep you on the edge of your seat, hit that subscribe button. You don't want to miss what's coming tomorrow. Back to Emily. She was running solo down Highway 87, her rig humming like a beast in the dark, headlights cutting across the moonlit Texas flats. The cargo? Auto parts bound for San Antonio. Nothing unusual. But the silence? Too still. Too perfect. Only sound in the cabin was the steady purr of the diesel engine, occasionally broken by a faint crackle on the CB radio. Then she saw them again. Same four SUVs. 20 miles now, they'd been lurking at a careful distance. Too careful. They didn't pass. They didn't fade. They were holding a formation she recognized all too well, the kind she'd seen during military convoys, seconds before ambushes exploded into chaos. Emily didn't need confirmation. Her gut had already called it. This was no coincidence. She didn't call for help. Not out here. Whispers of cartel ties inside local law enforcement made that option worse than useless. Instead, she trusted what never failed her. Training, instinct, and the calm before the storm mindset she'd carried through every operation. If they wanted to find out what happened when you mess with the wrong woman on the open road, so be it. Her grip tightened, speed held steady. Then came the voice. A burst of static cracked the calm, followed by a man's voice over the CB, smooth, cold, with a faint Mexican accent. "Pull over now, lady truck driver. We just want to talk." Emily didn't flinch. She'd heard that tone before. Different language, different battlefield. Same lies. They always said talk, they never meant it. She let a slow grin spread across her face. "Heard that one before," she muttered. No mic, no response, no slowing down. Then the voice came again, sharper now. "Pull over or we will make you stop." Like clockwork, one SUV lunged forward, leveling with her cab. The passenger window rolled down, and there it was. AK-47, muzzle gleaming in the moonlight. The night erupted. Gunfire spat across the front of her truck, metal pinging like war drums. A bullet cracked the windshield, webbing the glass. Emily stayed ice cold. If they wanted her scared, they were wasting bullets. She dropped her foot harder on the gas. The Peterbilt surged to 80. Two more SUVs flanked her sides, trying to trap her in a steel coffin at highway speed. But this wasn't her first rodeo. She'd faced ambushes before. Not in a truck, not on American soil. But tonight, the principle was the same. Survive, strike back, end it. Up ahead, she spotted a guardrail, terrain dipping just enough to play into her plan. Then, her moment. One SUV on her left crept up tight, too tight. She saw the gunman inside, fumbling to reload. Bad timing, buddy. She yanked the wheel left, hard. The side of her rig slammed into the SUV like a wrecking ball. Metal screamed, tires lost grip. The vehicle spun and crashed into the rail, sparks flying, then flipped onto its side. Emily didn't blink. 3 to go. She glanced at her right mirror. The others were pissed now. Engines howled. One shot ahead, trying to block her path. She braced herself. They wanted a fight? They just picked one with the wrong truck. Up ahead, the highway twisted along a sharp cliff, the edge dropping into pitch-black nothingness. Emily saw it not as a danger, but as an opportunity. The second SUV surged forward, trying to cut her off, box her in, maybe force her to slam the brakes. She played along, eased off the gas. Let them think she was folding. The SUV jumped ahead, slipping right in front of her rig. That was the moment she struck. Emily punched the accelerator, the roar of the Peterbilt rising like thunder. The truck's massive front end clipped the SUV's rear, just enough. The driver panicked, overcorrected. Emily watched in her side mirror as the vehicle lost control, swerved, tires screaming, and then it was gone, tumbling off the cliff. Its headlights spun into the abyss and disappeared. 2 down, 2 left. But the last pair weren't so reckless anymore. They dropped back, keeping a safer distance. She could almost hear the chaos over their radios. Disbelief that one trucker, one woman, had taken out half their crew in a matter of minutes. Then a new voice crackled through her CB. Deeper, sharper, coated in venom. "You just made a big mistake, Lady Trucker. El Serpiente will know your name." Emily didn't respond. She didn't need to. She didn't know who El Serpiente was, but she'd clearly kicked the hornet's nest. Hard. The last 2 SUVs kept trailing her. One slowed, hesitated, maybe deciding this wasn't worth dying for. The other flashed its high beams, trying to blind her. Emily narrowed her eyes but held steady. And then, just like that, they both vanished into the night. No more games, no more pursuit. Still, Emily didn't relax, not yet. Every curve in the road felt like a potential trap, every shadow a threat. But the highway remained silent, her engine the only sound in the vast Texas dark. Eventually, the adrenaline began to fade. Her shoulders ached with tension, and deep inside she knew tonight had changed something. Then, like a lighthouse in the fog, Isabella's diner came into view. The neon sign flickered above the quiet parking lot. She'd stopped here 100 times before, drawn by strong coffee and the kind of silence that came with trust. Only 2 other trucks were parked. Emily did a sweep before killing the engine. Inside, the diner was dim, humming with fluorescent lights. Vinyl booths worn from years of travelers. Behind the counter, Isabella Morales looked up. Her usual smile was gone, replaced with concern. "Rough night?" she asked, already pouring the coffee. Emily nodded and slid onto a stool. "You could say that." The place was unusually quiet. A few regulars sat scattered, but the usual chatter was missing. "Place feels dead," Emily noted. Isabella leaned closer, voice low. "Word's getting around. Tommy Martinez disappeared 3 days ago. Found his rig abandoned on 87. Blood on the seat." Emily froze. Tommy was a vet. Smart. Cautious. "Cartel?" Isabella's eyes hardened. "New guy, calls himself El Serpiente. He's demanding protection money from independents, the ones who say no." She didn't finish. From a booth near the window, Bob Miller, old-school hauler, grizzled face, chimed in. "They tried shaking me down last week," he said. "Offered me safety for 30% of my runs. I told them I've been doing this 20 years without babysitters." Emily looked at him. Under the bravado, there was fear. She'd seen it in soldiers, the kind that crept in when you started thinking the next trip might be your last. Then the door chimed. Everyone tensed. A woman walked in, crisp blazer, confident step. Her badge flashed before she even spoke. "I'm Agent Michelle Torres, FBI," she announced. Her eyes locked on Emily. "Mind if we talk?" Emily glanced at Isabella. A slight nod. "Sure," Emily replied. "Though I'm guessing this isn't about a speeding ticket." Torres slid onto the stool beside her. 4 SUVs were found wrecked along Highway 87. 2 over a cliff, 1 crushed against a rail. Survivors aren't talking, but they're all linked to someone we've been tracking. "Sounds like they could use driving lessons," Emily said coolly. Torres almost smiled. "Maybe. Or maybe someone out there finally fought back." She pulled out a photo and slid it across the counter. A man in a tailored suit, cold eyes, scar across his jaw. Fernando Cruz, El Serpiente, ex-military. Built a criminal empire from tactical precision and brute fear. Now he wants control over every border route. Emily studied the photo, etched it into memory. "And you're telling me this because—" Torres leaned closer. "Because in one night you did more damage to his operation than we've managed in months." "Deployments?" Torres asked, raising an eyebrow. "Maybe it's time we helped each other." Emily opened her mouth to respond, but froze as the deep rumble of engines filled the air outside. Through the diner windows, dark shapes emerged. At least 6 black SUVs forming a semicircle in the lot, headlights blazing, doors swinging open with precision. Men stepped out, rifles raised. Their movements were tight, rehearsed, military. Emily's voice was calm, but edged in steel. "Looks like El Serpiente got my name after all." She was already scanning for exits, calculating angles, distances, lines of fire. "Hope you brought backup," she said. Torres's hand moved to her weapon. "It's still 10 minutes out." Emily stood, the tension falling away, replaced by cold clarity. "Then I guess we improvise." The first shots shattered the diner's front windows. All hell broke loose. Glass exploded inward. Bullets ripped through booths and kitchenware. "Everybody down!" Emily shouted, already dragging Isabella behind the counter. Coffee pots burst, sugar canisters shattered. Bob and the other drivers dove behind overturned tables. Torres ducked behind a support column, pistol out. "FBI, cease fire," she called, but was met with another barrage of bullets. Emily's mind went to work. 6 SUVs, at least 18 men, maybe more. Heavily armed, but not trained for this kind of fight. Not like her. "Back exit!" she yelled. Isabella, crouched beside the pantry, nodded. "Through the freezer!" Leads to the alley. At the shattered front window, a gunman raised his rifle. Emily snatched a steel serving tray and whipped it like a discus. Crack! It smashed into the attacker's face, sending him tumbling backward with a grunt of pain. "Torres!" she yelled. "Can you hold the front?" The agent fired 2 precise rounds, forcing the attackers to duck. "Go! I've got it!" Emily crawled to Bob, who was huddled with 2 others. "When I say go, run for the kitchen. Don't stop. Don't look back." Then the front door opened, and in stepped a man who moved differently. Tactical gear, quiet power, measured stride. Javier Luna, El Serpiente's top lieutenant. "Come out now," he called, voice firm. "You've impressed us. The boss wants to talk." Emily's answer was silence, and then the sound of a sugar jar flying through the air. It shattered the overhead lights, plunging the diner into darkness. Only muzzle flashes and the glow from the parking lot lit the chaos. Emily launched forward, a ghost in the shadows. Her elbow struck Luna in the throat. He choked. She ripped the rifle from his hands and drove its stock into his knee. He collapsed. "Now!" she shouted. Bob led the civilians through the kitchen as Emily and Torres held the line. The cartel surged forward, but Emily met them head-on. A punch to the gut, an elbow to the jaw, a knee to the ribs. Her body flowed like a machine built for one thing: survival. "You don't know what you're starting," Luna gasped, reaching for a sidearm. She kicked it away. "No," she growled. "You don't know what you started." One final blow sent him unconscious. More men clambered through broken windows. Emily ducked behind the counter. Wood splintered. Glass shattered. She reached under the bar and pulled out Isabella's emergency shotgun, pumped a round into the chamber. "Torres! Fall back!" The agent backed toward the kitchen, still firing. "You've done this before," she said between shots. "Once or twice," Emily replied, then fired. The blast caught 2 attackers in the chest. Their vests stopped the worst of it, but the force knocked them flat. They reached the kitchen. Civilians were already gone. Then, a new sound. Sirens. But something else, too. Helicopter rotors chopping the air. The cartel men heard it. Their retreat began fast, dragging wounded, shouting in Spanish. Javier Luna was gone, likely pulled out in the chaos. Emily and Torres exited through the alley, staying low. The way was clear. Red and blue lights raced closer in the distance. Behind them, flames devoured the diner. Emily stopped and stared as the fire consumed Isabella's place, the one sanctuary she had on the road. Guilt twisted in her stomach. "This is my fault," she whispered. She stared at the flames devouring what was left of Isabella's diner, a knot tightening in her chest. Emily hadn't just witnessed destruction. She'd brought war to a peaceful place. "You didn't bring this here," Torres said gently, reading the guilt on her face. The cartel was always going to escalate. At least this time someone stood up to them. Emily's jaw clenched. "They'll come back harder." "That's why you're not standing alone," Torres replied, holstering her weapon. El Serpiente doesn't realize it yet, but he just made this personal for the FBI. No one opens fire on a federal agent and walks away. The sirens were close now, flashing lights just over the ridge. Emily knew she should disappear before the questions started piling up, but she couldn't tear her eyes away from the wreckage. Isabella's diner had been more than a place to eat. It was a haven, a rare slice of safety in a world growing darker by the day. Now it was ash. "They'll hit other places," she said quietly. "Other people," Torres nodded, "unless someone stops them." Emily thought of Tommy Martinez and his blood-stained cab, of Bob shaking behind a booth, of Isabella standing in the ruins of her sanctuary. She remembered a time when her enemies were overseas. Now they were here, terrorizing her people. "I'm gonna need my truck," she said. Torres gave a knowing nod. "I'll need a statement first, then we talk strategy." As emergency crews swarmed the scene and firefighters battled the last of the blaze, Emily knew one thing for sure. Her quiet life on the open road was over. El Serpiente hadn't just declared war on her. He had declared war on everyone who lived and worked on these highways. Fine. She'd give him a war he'd never forget. Telling and preparing this story took time, research, and heart. If you're enjoying the ride, hit that subscribe button. It really helps. Now back to the story. The sun rose over the smoldering wreckage of Isabella's diner, casting long shadows across the scorched parking lot. Emily sat in her truck, watching the fire crews wrap up. Her phone buzzed. A message. No name. Just a short, familiar signature. "Park and wash, Silver Creek. 1 hour. Come alone. DC Daniel Cooper," her old SEAL teammate. The truck stop was run down, half forgotten on the outskirts of town. Emily found it easily. Daniel was waiting in the shadows of the maintenance bay, civilian clothes doing little to hide the coiled strength of a man who'd lived through a dozen lifetimes in combat. His eyes scanned constantly, a habit that never left them. "You look like hell, Blake," he said, voice dry. "You should see the other guys," she shot back, pulling him into a brief hug. "How'd you know?" "Still got friends in Intel," he replied. "Soon as I heard a lone trucker took out a cartel hit team, I knew it had to be you." He pulled out a tablet. "But that's not why I'm here. Look at this." The screen lit up. Surveillance photos, manifests, bank logs, border patrol schedules. "El Serpiente's not just running drugs," Daniel said. "He's building an empire. Extortion, trafficking, weapons, and he's got help. On the inside." Emily's eyes locked on a photo. A border patrol officer taking an envelope. "Miguel Herrera," Daniel explained. "He controls security at half the checkpoints. That's how they move products so easily." Emily exhaled. "So that's why the locals stay quiet. They're either bought or scared." Daniel nodded. "It goes higher than we thought. Judges, state officials. El Serpiente studied how the Colombian cartels worked. Why fight the system when you can buy it?" A loud hiss, truck air brakes, made them tense. But it was only Isabella, arriving in a borrowed rig. Her face was hard as she approached. No greeting, no small talk. "They burned my place," she said. "But they didn't find what was hidden in the basement." She handed them a weathered ledger. "I've been keeping track. Names, dates. What drivers said over coffee when they thought no one was listening." Emily and Daniel flipped through it. Shipment routes, corrupt officials, smuggling patterns. It wasn't just a notebook. It was a roadmap to the cartel's entire network. "This is why they hit the diner," Emily said. "They suspected," Isabella replied. "But they don't know what I have, not yet. I want him to pay. For Tommy, for my diner, for all of it." Daniel's phone buzzed again. He checked the screen, and his face darkened. "Word from my contact in Border Patrol. Herrera's overseeing a major shipment tonight. Military-grade weapons. The real deal." "Where?" Emily asked. "Abandoned airstrip, outside River Valley. Enough firepower to start a small war." Emily's thoughts spun. With Isabella's intel and Daniel's inside connection, they had a real shot. But they needed more muscle. An hour later, Agent Torres pulled up. Emily handed her the ledger. Torres read. Her face went pale. This goes way beyond my division, she admitted. I've got maybe 12 agents I trust. That's not enough. Then we add to ours, Emily said without hesitation. She turned to Daniel. Remember that warehouse in Cad Norte? The one we used for that hostage op? He nodded slowly. Still got the key. It's remote. Perfect for what you're thinking. Using Isabella's ledger and Daniel's intel network, they began mapping out a plan, one that could turn the tide. With the names of trusted truckers, ex-military, and a few honest agents, they'd build a resistance, not to match the cartel in numbers, but to outsmart them. That warehouse becomes our base, Emily said. We disrupt their routes, intercept shipments, gather evidence, and protect the independents. We make it too costly for them to operate. Torres crossed her arms. They'll respond with overwhelming force. Emily's eyes narrowed. Good. Let them. Better to draw them into the open than let them keep hiding behind badges and bribes. Within hours, Daniel's calls were answered. One by one, people arrived. Former special forces, angry truckers. A few bold border patrol agents, sick of the corruption. Emily watched them gather, reminded of old mission briefings. But this wasn't about foreign wars or national orders. This was personal. This was about defending home. El Serpiente thought we were just easy prey, she told the group. But he forgot something. Every trucker out here knows how to handle a 40-ton rig, navigate chaos, and survive alone on dangerous roads. Add in combat veterans who haven't lost their edge. She paused. We're not targets anymore. Bob Miller stepped forward. We're an army. Emily nodded. Tonight they're bringing in weapons at River Valley. That shipment, it never gets through. We show them the hunted can become the hunters. The warehouse erupted into focused motion. Planning teams, weapons checks, communication setups. Isabella approached Emily, her eyes steady. They'll come at us harder than ever. I know, Emily replied, but we're done running. El Serpiente wanted a war, she said, voice low. He's about to get one. The sun sank low, casting golden light across the warehouse yard as preparations were finalized. Emily checked her gear, synced the comms, assigned positions. It came back to her naturally, the rhythm of combat. Daniel stood beside her, watching the troops roll out. Just like old times. No, Emily said with a half smile. Better. This time we're fighting for our own backyard. Night fell, and the resistance rolled out, trucks and tactical vehicles moving through the dark like shadows. River Valley, the abandoned airstrip. The cracked runway was lit by sparse security lights. The rest was black. Through her night vision goggles, Emily tracked movement. 3 unmarked trucks rolled toward the hangar, followed closely by a Border Patrol SUV. Miguel Herrera, Daniel whispered. Leading the delivery himself. 12 hostiles on the ground, Emily noted. 4 at the hangar, 2 on the roof, the rest spread along the perimeter. No amateurs. They moved like soldiers. She keyed the radio. All teams, check in. Her earpiece lit up with responses. Bob and 3 truckers were ready to block the access road. Torres had her clean agents covering the far flank. Volunteers in hiding filled the gaps, encircling the airstrip. Emily kept her voice calm and clear. Remember, we're here for the weapons and the evidence. Herrera is a priority. We need him alive. The trucks reached the hangar. Doors groaned open. Spanish voices shouted inside. Crates were unloaded. Metal clanged, weapons checked, gears shifted. Then, a lookout's voice. Contact approaching west perimeter. Hold, Emily ordered. Another SUV appeared. Black, windows tinted. The driver stepped out, Javier Luna, bruised from their last fight, but still standing. He approached Herrera. Their conversation was lost to distance, but their body language told the story. Coordination, confidence, betrayal. More men emerged carrying long, narrow crates. Daniel stiffened beside her. Those are anti-tank weapons, military grade. Emily's jaw tightened. Not if we stop them here. She waited. Watched the last crate hit the ground. Watched the guards begin to relax. Then, Mark! The night exploded. Bob's crew jackknifed their rigs across the road. Instant blockade. Flashbangs ignited around the perimeter. white light tearing through the dark, followed by screams. Emily's strike teams advanced fast and low, using the chaos to close in. Gunfire lit the night. Luna shouted orders, his voice trying to cut through the madness. But Emily was already moving in. Emily Blake, a former Navy SEAL turned trucker, uncovers a cartel's plan to control border transportation. Using her skills and Daniel's network of veterans and truckers, she forms a resistance. They set up base in an abandoned warehouse and start disrupting cartel operations, exposing corruption and gathering intel. During a raid at a remote airstrip, they intercept a weapons shipment and capture Agent Herrera, who confesses the cartel's military-grade supply lines. Soon after, the cartel retaliates brutally, killing allies and attacking truck stops. Emily realizes someone high up is leaking intel. The cartel leader, Fernando Cruz, El Serpiente, challenges her directly. She meets him at a truck stop where he reveals Isabella was being tracked and used to uncover their network. Emily launches a counterattack with snipers and extracts Isabella, but Cruz escapes with military reinforcements, revealing deep corruption. The team uncovers evidence showing cartel money laundering through a legitimate bank. Emily devises a plan to expose the operation from within. With the help of insider employees, they infiltrate the bank and extract financial records, triggering massive leaks that go public. El Serpiente's empire begins to collapse, but he launches a violent counteroffensive. As attacks increase, Emily calls on independent truckers to stand united. They fortify Canyon Pass, setting a trap for Cruz's forces. The battle turns into a tactical showdown, where truckers use their rigs creatively to outmaneuver better-armed enemies. Despite heavy losses, they repel the assault. In the final confrontation, Emily defeats Cruz in hand-to-hand combat but spares his life, choosing justice over revenge. His arrest triggers widespread arrests of corrupt officials. The community forms a formal defense network, coordinating with law enforcement and veterans. The roads are now monitored and protected by locals. Months later, the cartel tries again, but this time the community is prepared. Their rapid, coordinated response forces the invaders to retreat. The network expands, inspiring similar models nationwide. 1 year after the battle, they commemorate the fallen and commit to vigilance. Emily testifies at Cruz's trial. He tries to justify his actions, but overwhelming evidence leads to multiple life sentences. The story ends not with a final shot, but with a shift in how communities protect themselves, united, alert, and never afraid again.